Hi, everyone. Let's start working on this activity where we're characterizing development. We're going to be using a really good website called GapMinder. And so if you click on the link in here, it takes you to the GapMinder tools. And it defaults to this really interesting graph that I would highly suggest that you play around with. It's really cool. Each one of the countries here, if you hover over top of it, will give you the name of the country. And you can see how life expectancy and GDP over time have changed for countries. And you can scroll it back and watch how things change over time. But we've got a few specific things that we want to be doing here. So you'll notice that the first one is that we're going to be working with life expectancy and the year. So we've got life expectancy on the side. We just want to change this so that it's just time. So it still says GDP per capita down here, but don't worry about that. It's not scaling it based on GDP. So we want just a couple of countries to track at one time. So I'm going to go by continent. So Canada, Mexico, and Haiti, I'm going to highlight. So I'm going to go find, and I'll just type in Haiti, check off the box, Canada, and finally Mexico. And then click OK. So you can see that the other data points or other countries are still visible. I find that that's sort of distracting. So um, you can change the opacity of the non-selected countries. So like this is going to be completely transparent if I'm not mistaken. Nope, it's the other way around. So I want to slide it all the way to here so that I'm not seeing them. So now what we want to do is we want to roll back the time. So you can see the dates on the screen there. I want to get to 1952. And you'll see that there will be these little tails that are behind each one of the countries. If I hover over top of the specific country, so here we have Canada, you can see over on the left-hand side over here, the exact number will appear. So 69 is the life expectancy for Canadians in 1952, whereas Mexico is 50.2, and in Haiti it's 40.3. I'll record that in my chart right here under the 1952 dates, and then I want to move forward to 2022. So we've got our 2022 dates. Once again, hover over top of the country. You'll notice that Canada Canada will be highlighted in green when I'm hovering over top of it. So I know that that's the specific country I'm looking at. Whereas now you'll see Mexico, the name Mexico is highlighted in green in the center of the screen. And now Haiti is highlighted. So that's how you're going to collect the data. Once you're finished with the countries, you can just simply click on them and it'll get rid of them. And then you can find your next group of countries. So, for instance, France and Romania. And once I've got those countries, I can start off in 2022 and get the data from it and then slide back to 1952. Now, a few sort of interesting glitches here. So once you've got all the life expectancies, you're going to switch over to GDP per capita. So we need to change this over here to GDP per capita. Don't do the bottom one. Okay, so the bottom one remains as a date. So now when I highlight this, once again, you can see that France is 12.1 K, which means $12,100 per person is the average gross domestic product per person. And Romania is significantly less at $1,520 per person. So collect the data for it. And then when you get into the literacy rate, you'll notice I've given you a bunch of numbers here because there are no changes. So you can't actually graph them. you won't be able to find Canada because the data doesn't change. And they don't say 100%, they always say 99. So that's why I put in 99. But let's take a look at Mexico and Haiti. So I will just get rid of these two by clicking on them. And then now I'm working with literacy rate adult total. So I want to change this to go down to education here, literacy, and then adult total. And whoops, find. So when I roll the dates here, you'll notice that nothing exists in the 1970s. And the data stops here in the 1980s, or sorry, in the 2000s for Haiti. So we got to go with what we've got. This is all the data that we have. So when it comes to earliest date and latest date, so for Haiti, the earliest date we have here is 1982, and it's looking like 34.7%, whereas over here, we're looking at 48.7%. Mexico is a little bit earlier, but that doesn't matter. So we're not concerned about the actual start date, but whatever the earliest time period is. All right, so that's how you fill in this chart. Category of country is a little different. When you take a look at the map here, you can just simply hover over top of the country, and it should tell you the name, I believe. No, it doesn't. So you're going to have to know exactly, this is Yemen. You have to look very carefully at Haiti. Here's this little tiny slice of the island, and then use the legend to try and figure out the particular category. I realize this is slightly different than what I gave in class, but it's one of the few maps that I could find online. So core, semi-periphery, periphery, that works. We don't have to have 4 categories. Three's fine. The second chart's a little different. So we're trying to figure out why the countries are different. Why are some countries wealthier? Why do people live longer, and so on? So hopefully government has a significant impact on the lives of its citizens. So the first thing we're going to look at is the date of sovereignty. And I actually changed the link here. It's not, it's this map here. So when you look at this, it's kept it fairly simple in that it's just looking at by decades. So 1940s, 1950s, before 1940s, and so on. So when you take a look at Romania here, it's a little challenging to see what it is. So what I did is I did a snip, and so I could take this legend and put it close to it and go, all right, which color is it most like? And in this case, I think it's most like the 1980s. So for Romania, the date of independence would be the 1980s. When it comes to export commodities, you're going to take a look at each country. Usually the first 2 that have been stated are usually the more important ones. So for instance, crude, petroleum, and cars and car parts would be what you just list for Canada. You don't have to list these other ones because they are usually significantly less important. Whereas, let's say we look at South Africa, we've got gold and platinum. So that's what I'm looking for the number 1 exports. Arable land, you've got a map here, and you can download it. It might be easier to see if you download it, but you can just simply hover over top and get the number of hectares per person. So if I want Mali here, when I hover over top of it, it's 0.3 hectares and so on. End date of the last civil war. So this is, I was really struggling to try and find some good data on this one. It's not the best. Where do we have here? Nope, that's political regime. Um, uh, yeah, I'll get back to that in a second. The last one, type of government. This is using this map here. And once again, probably easier if you click on download. And we're just looking to see what kind of democracy or what type of autocracy. So autocracy, people don't have much choice. For instance, they might have an election, but they can only vote for one party. So that's not really a democracy. So it's more of an electoral sort of autocracy. Whereas in some cases, there's just no choice. You have a dictatorship, and that's a closed autocracy. So once you've got all that finished, you're going to try and look for the patterns. And I'll talk about the patterns in a later date. Hopefully, this helps you for completing the charts. Okay, so I've got this list of internal conflicts. If you do Control F, you can do a quick search. And so if I'm looking for Mali, I type Mali in, hit enter. Be careful, Somalia is not Mali. So it's just going to look for. So here we have Mali. Now you'll see since 2012. That means that the war is still ongoing. So when it comes to internal conflicts, you're going to find Mali here, and where are we? And you would write, since 2012, which implies that the war is still going on. Some countries like France, they're not listed in here. I don't know why, but you might have to do an external Google search if there's no information. But the French Revolution ended in 1799. That might be why it's not listed in there. But so anyway, just be aware if it says since, that means that the war is still going on. Whereas, for instance, I think Thailand. Yeah, so they had this communist insurgency, but it ended in 1983. So you put in 1983.